don't give up. When you are tempted, come back to this resource, and you will find the motivation and guidance that will enable you to move forward in cultivating communities of faith, hope, and love. Prologue. In March of 2020, I experienced in my local church in Hawaii what the Western world and every other church experienced. The pandemic shut everything down. As we anxiously waited to see what we could or could not safely do, every entity in Hawaii instantaneously stopped operating. Kamehameha Schools, a private educational system that serves as a cultural emblem in Hawaii, canceled its long-standing and revered tradition of song contest. Shutting down a society also meant shutting down a global economy. The world was hurled into an economic downturn that we are still reeling from today. On top of that, in the summer of 2020, the United States went through a cascade of racial and ethnic upheaval with the witnessed murder of George Floyd at the hands of police officers. Fall saw a heightened peak of political polarization, the likes of which this generation had never experienced. And winter brought with it the death of Vicha Ratanapagdi, the rise of anti-Asian hate crimes, and the Capitol insurrection. In just 1 year's time, our culture changed drastically into something nearly unrecognizable. In March of 2020, Andy Crouch, Kurt Kylehacker, and Dave Blanchard from Praxis Labs wrote a pivotal article saying, "The priority of leaders must be to set aside confidence in their current playbook as quickly as possible, write a new one that honors their mission and the communities they serve, and make the most of their organization's assets, their people, financial capital, and social capital, leaning on relationship and trust." They added, "From today onward, most leaders must recognize that the business they were in no longer exists. This applies not just to for-profit businesses, but to nonprofits and even in certain important respects to churches." At the time, the church world was contending with how to conduct and plan for the main event in the church calendar, Easter. Every playbook on how Easter service should run had to be thrown out the window. Every Western church was learning how to host a virtual service overnight, and its people and resources shifted to run a live stream event. My church, Makelo'o, was no different. We felt the pressure of Easter Sunday and the loss of what could have been. The previous Easter Sunday, my church plant had hosted an evening conversation centered around Jesus at a trendy craft beer locale, where we hit our goal of having 50% non-Jesus followers in the room. It was standing room only, with 70 people in attendance. It felt alive, fresh, and like it was hitting a mark. We planned to exceed 100 people in 2020, and we were already celebrating. It would just be a matter of time before we would be looking for a new, larger location to host an even larger crowd of people. In March of 2020, my church pivoted just like every church did. But instead of putting our people and resources into running a virtual Sunday service, we determined how we could honor our mission and the communities we served. We quickly surveyed the immediate needs in our local context and shifted our priorities to meet them. We had invited some guests from a low-income senior living facility to attend our Easter gathering, and we heard that some of them had to get on a public bus to go to the food bank, pick up a can or two of non-perishables because that's all they could carry, and do this week in and week out. On Easter Sunday, we delivered a month's worth of groceries donated from a variety of different organizations and individuals to all 70 residents living in that facility. We had invited some other seniors in another low-income building in our neighborhood to our Easter gathering. But instead, we dropped off a hot Easter dinner in partnership with a local restaurant that was asking for ways they could help the elderly. We provided a home-cooked dinner for over 250 grandmothers and grandfathers, none of whom could enjoy Easter dinner with their family that night. We had invited a local community leader and her family to our Good Friday service to honor her efforts with the houseless population in Hawaii. But we changed this plan as well. We had heard that her organization was being denied much-needed food donations because there was greater need elsewhere. On Easter Sunday, we partnered with the food bank to get enough boxes of canned and fresh